Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a bit different. We're exploring the life and work of Caroline, a STOTT Pilates instructor.
Right, but the lens we're using is really unique. It's through the words of someone incredibly close to her, Gandour.
Exactly. We're drawing from an audio interview, actually, from his own podcast, La Voix de Gandour.
And Gandour isn't just, anyone. He's described in such rich terms, majestic, sensitive, a former top athlete, even a philosopher.
Yeah, that description alone tells you this isn't going to be a standard biography. It promises a really intimate, thoughtful perspective on Caroline.
Mm-hmm. And he sets the scene immediately, doesn't he? Saying she transforms movement into poetry.
He does, and makes each breath and posture meaningful. I mean, that just pulls you right in, makes you want to know more about her approach.
Definitely sparks curiosity.
Okay, so let's dive in. What does Gandour tell us about her actual life, her routine?
Well, what comes through strongly is this balance she has between two places, Paris and Tunis. In Paris, she teaches at her studio, Biopilates. He mentions specific days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Right.
And he talks about the studio itself, calls it a cathedral of the body and soul. He even describes like an old mirror and the light hitting the reformers.
Wow, a cathedral.
Yeah.
That's powerful imagery. It paints a picture of a really focused, almost sacred space for her work.
It really does. And then the rest of the week, from Tuesday, she's in Tunis.
And that's more her personal life.
Exactly. That's where we hear about her life with Gandour himself and also their animals, Scooby and Bamboo. He calls Scooby a petite tornade noire, a little black whirlwind.
Yeah, cute. And Bamboo.
Bamboo is the sage noir et blanc, the wise black and white one. It sounds like a very grounded personal space for her.
It does sound very different from the Paris studio vibe.
Yeah, and he adds these lovely little details like her garden in Tunis. He says she speaks to the flowers with the same kind of infinite gentleness she shows him.
Oh, that's sweet.
It is. And he mentions their shared rituals, too, moments of just silence and being present together. It suggests, a deep inner calm, a mindfulness that must connect to her teaching.
Absolutely. That connection to nature, that quiet presence. You can see how that would inform how she teaches movement. So you have these two worlds, Paris and Tunis. But that's not the whole story, is it? Her influence goes wider.
Much wider. And this is where it gets really interesting, because Gandour's own past comes into play. He talks about her travels to teach STOTT Pilates, specifically mentioning Qatar.
Ah, Qatar. And that's significant for Gandour.
Hugely significant. It's his birthplace. He speaks with, quite a lot of emotion about it. He remembers being a champion athlete there, racing horses.
Right. I remember reading that.
Yeah, he talks about the cuisant soleil, the burning sun, and the regards exigence, the demanding eyes watching him, the sand burning his hooves, these childhood dreams of being a champion. You can almost feel the wind, he mentions.
Wow. So her going there must stir up a lot for him.
Definitely. He describes it as the silent memory resurfacing, a feeling of belonging, even though, he's not a competition horse anymore.
That's quite poignant, a mix of nostalgia and pride.
Exactly. Pride that she's there, pursuing her passion, even while it brings back all these intense feelings for him.
So what is she actually doing in Qatar now?
She's training instructors, and Gandour uses this phrase. He says she's forming an extraordinary group, a human rainbow of students.
A human rainbow.
Ah.
I like that. What does he mean?
Well, he lists the nationalities of the instructors she's training, and it's just incredibly diverse. People from Qatar itself, Iran, 3 instructors from there. It's Morocco, Tunisia,
Right.
Kenya, South Africa, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Spain. It's this amazing mix of backgrounds, ages, stories, all coming together.
That really paints a picture. It's not just about fitness training then, is it? It sounds much bigger.
It seems to be. Gandour frames it as her sharing an art de vivre, an art of living, a way to inhabit your body with consciousness and love. It goes way beyond just exercise technique.
An art of living. That elevates the whole thing.
It really does. And it makes you think about movement itself, doesn't it? Gandour touches on this idea that movement is maybe a universal language.
Interesting.
He says the body is a language everyone can learn, no matter where you're from. And he sees Caroline speaking that language.
How does he describe her teaching style with this diverse group?
Very attentive, fair, kind. He says she looks at each person with the same regard, treating everyone equally.
So the diversity isn't a barrier. It actually highlights the method's power.
That seems to be Gandour's perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
That the STOTT Pilates method itself becomes this common ground, this shared language.
And Caroline's role in that.
He actually says he's heard her call the method a language. In his view, he sees Caroline as its poet.
It's poet.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a statement. It suggests she brings an artistry to it, a deeper meaning beyond just the mechanics.
Exactly. She's not just teaching the what, but the how, and maybe even the why, connecting with people across all these cultural lines through the medium of mindful movement.
It really makes you appreciate how someone can bridge those gaps, sharing something so personal, so embodied.
Mm-hmm. It's quite inspiring when you think about it.
So as we kind of pull these threads together from Gandour's perspective, what's the final image he leaves us with? How does he sum Caroline up?
It's very poetic, as you might expect from him.
Okay.
He describes her as a shooting star.
Okay.
A shooting star who pauses just long enough to ignite a light in everyone she meets, and then she moves on towards another soul, another country, another dream.
Wow. A shooting star igniting lights. That's a really beautiful, evocative image. Captures both her impact and her sort of dynamic nature.
It does, doesn't it? Fleeting but powerful.
So as we finish up here, thinking about Caroline through Gandour's very unique, very loving perspective.
Yeah.
It leaves you with something to consider, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, just think about the power inherent in something like Pilates, or maybe any practice that focuses on mindful movement. How can it create these connections, these bridges between people from such different backgrounds, different corners of the world?
That's a great question.
And what does it take from an individual, someone like Caroline, to actually foster that, to nurture that global connection, and help people connect more deeply with their own bodies? Something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.